Hello, my name is Jennifer Bond, and this is Reflections from a Remote Teacher. I'm a middle school design technology teacher at Clifford Smart Middle School, which is part of the Walled Lake Schools. If we were in class, this would have been my classroom, but because I am a project-based learning teacher, I also have the old wood workshop to my disposal where we can do projects in and do maker type things. I do think it's more of a STEAM classroom, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So a lot of our emphasis on computer science and engineering and the design thinking process. Super fun. A little bit different since I've been remote since March 17th and trying to transition it into a remote class. But it's been quite the adventures. There are some fun things about remote teaching. I like to incorporate some wardrobe into the fun of teaching. Last spring, when we were just in quarantine, I would do daily videos and try to have fun with my outfits as I integrated them into our lessons or some type of thoughts for the day. Because I am an elective teacher, I get the flexibility and freedom to have children do a wide variety of projects. So I've really enjoyed the diverse creative ways children have been doing their projects. It's also fun to connect with the kids and build relationships even through the screen. We've had lunchtime among us, game times where I allow them to play on Zoom. I enjoy going into breakout rooms and just having small connections, checking in on the kids, sometimes having a random conversation with parents, or kids are showing me their pets. That is kind of fun. It's a little intimate to be in their houses, and that's something we don't usually get to do. So it's allowed me to get to know the kids in a different way. But there's a lot of difficult things about teaching. Pretty much all the planning, all the time it takes to create every lesson, to be able to do the grading and the feedback. It's probably not uncommon that most of my assignments, the projects that we do, because we have to document all the steps of the progress that they're doing. In a normal classroom, you just be able to walk around and know what they've done. But here, you have to document everything. So probably a lot of the projects for my 170 students, 6 classes, I can easily take probably 10 hours to grade one big project. So it's definitely laborious. Another difficult thing is I feel disconnected from staff, disconnected from the school. There's not much communication. At the very beginning, I kept saying, I'm like a ship out to sea and nobody's checking to see if we're going the right direction. Like, I don't know if I'm doing this the way it's supposed to be done. So that's been hard to not really have that feedback. And in a normal classroom experience, you would have teachers in the hall that you can chit chat with and just check in with. And that does not happen as much with remote teaching. What I've learned about remote teaching and learning is that kids are adaptable, and so are we. How I feel about remote teaching right now in January is way different than how I felt in September. It's become normalized, and we've been able to figure it out. I know that relationships can be built even through a screen. I know that kids know my heart, even though it's been through a screen. There's been plenty of times that I have been surprised, I would say, when children reach out and tell me certain things. And I'm like, oh, did that still happen? Even, oh, I'm still Mrs. Bond. I'm still the same core person. And they're able to see my heart. And there's been kids that have thrived in this environment. I've had children that have really grown leaps and bounds. And I think they're the students that often were enabled or, just used to somebody rescuing them. And there's no rescuing when you're trying to problem solve through a computer and having to do things. So there's been certain students that have had to just figure it out, and they've grown so much. So that's been neat to see. Things that I would like from students and parents are share what's going on in your life, share if there's any struggles, so teachers can have compassion. Like, I want to know what I can do to help a child find success. I want children to show me at least something you've done. I cannot grade error, so just show me what you've worked on. I'd rather give you, partial credit than a 0. So that's been something that just turn in something. Tips for parents to make online schooling successful: have fidgets available, whether it's like a little ball that's on the floor and they can roll their feet around. Allow them maybe to chew gum. Maybe that those last hours of the day could be hard for them. I have a little cup of candy just to suck on. Sometimes you just need that little distraction. I have resistance bands that I can put between my leg and move. You can just to stretch, and just any bit of movement that can be done in the confines of your remote classroom. But also check on your children regularly. You could lean your ear to the door, see what's going on. You can look at their assignments right on Google Classroom or Schoology, whatever learning platform they're using. Make sure that they're actually turning in assignment and not just that you see turned in. Some kids have figured out that they can just do blank assignments, and that's not getting them any points or getting them to showcase their learning. So ask your child about what they're learning. Maybe I do a newsletter frequently. So maybe your child's teacher does a newsletter and say, hey, Mrs. or Mr. So-and-so said this. Tell me about what you did. Stay connected. Make them know that you're still a part of their school life. And if you have any questions, go ahead and contact the teacher or the staff member. Don't put questions on social media. That just usually causes a little bit of chaos. Just reach directly to the school person if you have a concern or a question, and get the answer from the direct person. As far as to meet your emotional needs of children, again, communication is key. Let them know how you're feeling. Let them know even when you're stressed and what you do for stress. It's okay to let them know that there's some uncertainty, and this has never happened in your lifetime. So having those open conversations and just being real with them, that can help them. Ask children to share one word of how they're feeling. I do this for my students, and I look for patterns. I look for anything that I should be concerned, and I follow up. Provide opportunities for socialization. Maybe you can have a friend, couple friends, whatever you feel comfortable with. But if you don't feel comfortable, know that they have outlets like Snapchat, and they have FaceTime, and they have gaming that they can connect with their peers. They can do game nights over Zoom, but they're going to probably also need boundaries for that. So be prepared for that. Go outside and have fun. Have the joy of sledding or take a walk with your child. I had walks with my daughter who's 13, and I would say it was sometimes like the highlight of our quarantining because we took that time to connect, play games, hang out with the pets. If you don't have pets at home, go ahead and look at a webcam. There's a lot of zoo webcams. The panda webcam at the National Zoo is a favorite of mine. And if you have any concerns, reach out to your child's teacher, the counselors, the social workers, the principal, whoever you feel comfortable enough. There are resources for all of the students. And even if you're struggling, if you have a parental care, don't feel embarrassed. People know that this is hard, and we have tools as educators to help you. So just if you can't handle something, ask for help. Now, what I would like others to know about what I'm doing, I've never worked harder in my 22 years of teaching. This shirt, what a year this week has been, that's kind of like it feels like every week. Even though I'm in the comforts of my own home, that is nice. I am still stressed out most of the time, feeling overwhelmed most of the time. Overwhelmed by creating all of the projects and being ready to go the next day. It's so much different to prep for the lessons on a remote because you have to have every little bit ready to go in a visual way and be prepared, versus in the classroom, you can point to things. You have different just tools. It's just completely different. the slideshows. Like they can be anywhere from 20 to 40 slides. Maybe there's been weeks that I've had even more. It's really difficult because I'm used to being on my feet. A normal teacher is barely ever sitting. So we're standing, we're walking around the room, and usually I can leave the day at school between 7,500 and 10,000 steps, no problem. Now my average count is like 2,500, so that's hard. But I do know I'm making a difference in the lives of students. This was a card that was given to me by a student that had never really considered engineering as a career choice. And he's an 8th grader. And now he's like, I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to be. And he's a natural. I was surprised that it was the first time. And he knows that I have impacted that part of his life. I have other children that have reached out to me and thanked me for certain things. I know kids are learning. I know I am teaching kids skills. And that's the thing that I hate the most is when I hear on news articles and people out there, they say, oh, kids can't learn this way. Well, I'm going to tell you, kids are learning. They have figured it out and they know that this is not ideal, but they're making the best of it. And they are able to learn. They've figured it out. They are resilient. And that's important to know. It's not ideal, but it's not horrible like everyone else is saying. Now, I know everyone has different situations, but overall, I've been surprised. Now, some of the short-term effects, I do think that there's going to be some eye health issues. I know just me personally, my eyes have taken a little bit of a dip. I'm going to need to get my prescription renewed. So as parents, you probably want to look at the eye health and pretty much everyone. I also know that we're in trauma still. There's trauma. There's going to be PTSD. There's going to be anxiety out there. So I think that we're going to, even when things go back to normal, we're still going to have to really be able to acknowledge that people are still going to be dealing with emotions. I think another thing is our standardized assessments. Standardized assessments are not going to have the pull that they have had in the past. There's just no way. There's no way because every school district in the whole United States has not done this pandemic learning in the same way. And there's no way that you can compare children based on what models of pandemic learning. There are some remote areas of different states and of the country that they don't have the Wi-Fi or bandwidth to support online learning so they've been doing packets. And that is less than ideal for learning. There's some districts that have gone full out, no different, just with the masks. And so then there's some people that are hybrid. There's some people that only talk with their teachers once a week. So I'm going to say that there's definitely going to be a difference in standardized tests, and they're not going to be able to be used in the same way they have been in the past. I do think it's important that we still have assessments because I think this is an important part to study as far as in education of maybe what worked, what didn't work, what continued. Maybe we're going to be surprised. So I think that students should still take assessments. I just don't think they should be used in the same way to as far as educational funding and maybe admittance into college and things like that. There's colleges are going to have to figure out different models of how they can see a student as more than a test score. As far as what do I think will be the long-term impacts, I do think that our education system had enough of a disruption that it's never going to go back to the same it's been. And that could be that some school districts have recognized that students do thrive in online learning, and there's going to be a certain part of their population that will want to continue that. And there are different online places around the state that they can join, but maybe some districts will go ahead and just create online academies. I also think that teachers surprise themselves by being able to shift in a technology way so quickly that I think that there's going to be teachers that were kind of tiptoeing with technology that are going to continue using technology to be integrated in their classroom. And I think that's going to be neat. But definitely a long-term impact will be that I do not expect schools to be exactly like they were prior to COVID-19. I think that we've had enough of a disruption that things are going to look and feel just a little bit different, maybe not dramatically different, but enough that we're going to be learning things about ourselves as educators. We're going to learn things about students, and there will be impacts to our education system as a whole because of this. Thank you so much for listening to me and learning about my reflections from remote learning. Thanks so much.